Buongiorno, hi. Welcome again to our new recording or Italian lesson, however you want to call it. This one is also for beginners. We are going to talk about verbs. What are verbs? Verbs are what in English schools or British schools are described as the doing words. So all the things that we do, those are the verbs. And again, in Italian, unlike English, they are a bit more complicated because they change according to who is talking, who we are talking to. So these changes, which we see when we write them, are called conjugation. Something that does exist in English, but is very, very limited. I'm not going to mention the details now, at least, because if it's something completely new for you, then it won't make much sense. But maybe we'll mention it a little bit later. I have to mention the fact that in my previous recording, I was using the whiteboard, but only later I realized that you can't really see what I write until later, so I have to work on that. So for now, today we are going to see, I'm going to share an image instead, so it's easier to follow what I'm saying, and you can actually see it. So let's start with sharing this picture. As you can see, we have the verbs, and you can see this conjugation that I've mentioned. This is the coniugazione, prima, seconda e terza coniugazione. Meaning we can divide the verbs in three groups. It's a little bit like as if in English you divide, for example, you form a group of verbs that end in with a K, for example, talk, walk, work, and then another group that is like make, take. So they look similar, let's say. Let's put it this way. And they're very important. These three groups are very important because every time you learn a new tense, meaning present, past, future, then you're always going to see these three groups and see what kind of conjugations each group needs. So we're going to start with this, with the present tense, meaning all the things that we do in the present. I go, I eat, I do in the present, but also as a habit. Normally, I go somewhere. Normally, I eat at a certain time. So present tense, or when we're talking about habitual actions. So you can see we have the first group of verbs here. The first group of verbs are the ones that we see the most because obviously there is a larger number of these verbs, meaning they are the ones that ends in are, you can see here. We have the second group of verbs which end in ere, you put in here as well, and then a third group in ire. So we have less verbs that end in ire. As I said, think about if we could do the same thing in English, it's just those ones that look similar. Let's say it's like this. Everything will make a bit more sense later on. At the beginning, it just sounds something just, I don't know, from another world, maybe. So let's take these three, we have three verbs from each group. We have lavorare, which is to work. We have prendere, which is to take. And we have aprire, which is to open. Let's leave this third one out for now, which is like a subgroup of this third conjugation in ire. So basically, when we see these verbs, as I say, lavorare is to work, prendere, to take, aprire, to open, which is what, if we need to know, how do I say to work in Italian? You go in the dictionary, paper or online dictionary, and you put to work and you find lavorare. But then obviously you need to change it. If you want to say I work, you work, he, she works. As you can see, they look all a little bit different. In English, we do have, as I said, this conjugation, but only for he and she. We only have the conjugation, meaning this little change with he and she, where you add an S, works, he, she works, he, she takes, he, she opens. However, all the other ones, I, you, we, they don't change. It's all I work, you work, they work, we work. It's all the same. That's why in English, you always need to use I, you, they. Otherwise, we will know who we are talking about. In Italian, because they're all different, we don't need to say every time I, you, he, she, they. Because the conjugation tells us already who is talking or who we are talking about. So let's see how we do these conjugations. Obviously, you can just study them by heart, but it's much better to find a little bit of a pattern that you can memorize. So here, as I was saying, we've got basically the person who is doing the action of working, taking, or opening, or anything else. So this one, io is I, tu, you, when we're talking about one person, lui, he, lei, she. We leave this one out for now. Noi, we, voi, you, plural, so group, and loro, they. So we're going to see the changes for the three groups of verbs. We're going to observe them horizontally, as I always say, to see, as I said, if there are patterns that make them make them a bit easier to remember, to memorize. So as I said, these are the words that you can find in a dictionary, paper or online. These are called, it's called the infinitive, which is, let's describe it as the original form of the verb, which we can change accordingly. So, can you see this lavorare? We are talking about the group in are. Prendere, we are talking about the group in ere. Aprire, we are talking about the group in ire. So when we want to conjugate them, meaning change them according to the person who is talking, we are going to drop the last bit, are. And we are going to drop ere. And then we are going to drop ire. So we are left with lavor, prender, no, prend, and apr. So once we've dropped this are, ere, or ire, then we can add our endings. For example, see here we've, once we drop are, we end up with lavor. So when you're talking about yourself, I work, I take, I open, you're adding the conjugation. As a conjugation, you're adding the letter O. See, lavoro, prendo, apro. Very similar when we're using to, the conjugation for to, which is you. We're still dropping always the same are, ere, or ire. And for to, we are adding I. Lavori, prendi, apri. So these two first persons, io and tu, so I and you, they basically have the same letter, the same conjugation for the three groups of verbs. And let's keep this third one. We're going to this one, noi, which is we. I'm jumping onto this one because, like the previous two, they have exactly the same conjugation, meaning we are adding iamo. So lavoriamo, we work. Prendiamo, we take. Apriamo, we open. So these three, io, tu, noi, they have the same conjugation. So basically you're only learning, let's say, one letter for this one letter for this, and then this combination of letters for noi, which is we. Another one, I'm just going down again. I'm following the order of how easy they are to learn. Voi is you plural, you all. As you can see, once from the infinitive, this one, the origin, once we drop are, when we're conjugating, we're adding ate. So it's easy. Lavorare becomes lavorate. This one, for the verbs in ere, you're adding ete. So prendete, you take. And for the verbs in ire, you're adding ite, aprite. So that, in theory, is an easier way to remember. So are becomes ate, ere becomes ete, ire becomes ite. So these three are, as I said, a little bit easier to remember. Now let's go back to this one, which is lui, he, and lei, she. If we want to say he or she works, again, we drop the are from lavorare, and we're just adding a. Lavora. Lui lavora, lei lavora, he or she works. These two groups, ere and ire, are a little bit more similar to each other. So we're adding e. Prende, apre. He, she takes, he, she opens. And then we're going to jump onto the last one, loro, which is they. And they have the same type of pattern, in the sense that the first group in are, the group in are, we are adding ano, so lavorano. These two groups, ere and ire, are more similar to each other again. So we are adding ono, prendono, and aprono. So they work, they take, they open. So basically, as I say, all these little letters here, or combinations of letters, which we have for each person. With person, I mean I, you, he, she, we, you plural, and they. So for each person, we have a different letter, which is the conjugation. Remember, in English, the only change in the conjugation is for he, she, where we add the s. So that is exactly the same principle. Although in Italian, as usual, we have more. Yes. But I guess that's why Italian is supposed to be a musical language, because there are more changes, more letters. Oh, I think that's how, obviously for me being Italian, for me it sounds like in a completely different way as it does for a foreign person, depending on their native language as well. So for example, if I want to just to say a little sentence, if I want to say, for example, I don't know, she takes the train, for example. So she is lei prende, and then il treno. If you saw at the previous recording the treno, train. If we want to say we take the train, noi prendiamo il treno. We take the train. If we want to say they, loro prendono il treno. They take the train. And let's see some other examples. If we want to say, for example, I work in a shop, io lavoro in un negozio. If we want to say she works in a shop, lei lavora in un negozio. Let's make a few sentences with aprire, with the verb aprire, which is to open. What can we open? We're gonna have to open a bottle, I guess. So let's say if you open a bottle, tu apri la bottiglia. La bottiglia is the bottle. Voi, you plural, voi aprite la bottiglia. You open the bottle. So we'll stop here. We're going to leave this group for later. So we'll do it gradually. Again, if this is completely new for you, then there is a lot to absorb. If you are already familiar with this, then it's a little a revision. You may already know about this, as I call it, a subgroup. It's not grammar terminology, but we'll see it next time together. So we'll do a little recap on the 3 groups, and then we'll talk about this one as well. So we'll stop sharing. I'll try and keep my my recording a little bit shorter. Otherwise, maybe there is too much to try and remember. So until next time, as I said, please, if you do have any requests or any questions, please feel free to write a comment or to ask any questions that you have, and I'll try to reply to all of you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Ciao.